our longest trusted English newspaper since 1898. Now available digitally. Computer, order the Manila Times Digital Edition. Subscribed. Get the Manila Times Digital Edition for less than 2 pesos and 50 centavos per day when you sign up for 1 year. The Manila Times, news source of choice, trusted since 1898.
Greetings, thank you for lending an ear to the Voice of the Times for Saturday, May 14, 2022. For today's editorial, back in business. We imagine that the outgoing administration's economic team, Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III, Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Carl Chua, and Budget and Management OIC Tina Anda were feeling more than a little gleeful when they presented a joint statement on the Philippines' first quarter economic performance on Thursday morning. And well, they should have. The gross domestic product or GDP growth figures for first quarter exceeded even the most optimistic forecasts. Despite the lingering COVID-19 pandemic and a host of other challenges, the economy is, if not quite firmly back at its pre-pandemic level, yet clearly back in business. As we explained in an editorial earlier this week, because of the election period and the winding down of the Duterte administration's time in office in the second quarter or April through June of the year, the first quarter GDP result is the last that can be firmly attributed to the outgoing government. It also serves as a sort of starting point for the incoming administration, the benchmark from which the new government's success or failure in managing the economy will be measured. Year-on-year, GDP growth in first quarter was 8.3%, exceeding both the highest forecasts of analysts at 7% and landing squarely in the middle of the government's optimistic 7 to 9% growth range for this year. The unexpectedly high growth figure coming as it does at the end of both the Duterte term and, we hope, the COVID-19 pandemic is an endorsement of the administration's management of the pandemic. The economy suffered a massive downturn, in fact, one of the worst in the world at the height of the pandemic, and yet has climbed back to almost the level it was in 2019. True, the current growth was helped substantially by a low base effect, as the economy contracted by 3.9% in the first quarter of 2021. But in this instance, the comparison with the previous quarter, the last 3 months of 2021, is more revealing. On a quarterly basis, the economy grew by 1.9%, which is the reversal of the pattern in normal years. First quarter GDP is almost always lower than that of the fourth quarter preceding, due to post-holiday slowdown in spending. That was not the case this year, as the government further opened the country to allow economy to catch up. Sets the high bar. As for the incoming Marcos administration, the direction it will take with the economy and who will be selected to manage it are at this point still only matters of speculation, as official statements on either question have not yet been offered. However, first quarter GDP results do offer some details that should guide the new economic policy. On the positive side, the industry and services sectors showed strong growth of 10.1 and 8.6% respectively. In terms of the demand side, household expenditures grew by 10.1% and exports by 10.6%. All this suggests that these are areas where it is important to maintain momentum and not deviate drastically from the policies of the current administration. On the less positive side, the agriculture sector is the biggest worry, recording growth of just 0.2%. Likewise, government spending grew at just 3.6%, a rate slower than the current rate of inflation. Imports grew at 15.6%, which is positive in the sense that it pads the GDP numbers, but a concern because it shows the country's trade deficit is growing. These parts of the economy, particularly agriculture, will require more intense focus on the part of the incoming government if growth momentum is to be maintained. And of course, there are other serious concerns that are not reflected in the GDP data, such as increased government debt that will reduce spending flexibility, persistent inflation, and the still not completely eliminated threat of another resurgence of the COVID-19 pestilence. The outgoing administration has set a high bar in managing the economy under extraordinary circumstances and raised expectations for the incoming administration. We trust that the new president and his economic team understand that they have their work cut out for them. And that's the editorial for Saturday, May 14, 2022. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to its digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, and listen to the voice of the Times.